and welcome to the Queer Amnesty Ireland LGBTQ+ Black History Month. For this campaign, we've highlighted 6 queer black heroes we think you should know about. First up is Audre Lorde, who was a civil rights activist, feminist, lesbian, and American writer. Lorde was a strong critic of white feminism and at the time was a black isolated voice who angered many white feminists. Lorde attacked the underlying racism within feminism and argued that without acknowledging the differences in the category of women, white feminists merely furthered old systems of oppression and by doing so prevented any real change. In essence, what Lorde was really talking about was the importance of intersectional feminism and the insistence that the personal is the political. Next up is Stormé DeLarverie, who was a key figure in the Stonewall riots. She worked as a singer for most of her early life, often dressing as a man on stage, and she later worked as a bouncer at the gay bars of Greenwich in New York. DeLarverie was a founding member of the Stonewall Veterans Association, set up 2 weeks after the rebellion. She was also known in Greenwich as the guardian of lesbians in the village and patrolled the area at night to ensure that there were no women in trouble. Next up is June Jordan, who is a Jamaican-American bisexual poet, essayist, teacher, and activist. In her writing, she explored issues of gender, race, immigration, and representation. Jordan was passionate about using Black English in her writing and poetry, teaching others to treat it as a language in its own right and an important outlet for expressing Black culture. Next, we have Willi Ninja, who was born in New Hyde Park, New York. He was a self-taught dancer and had perfected his own style of voguing in his 20s. His mother was black and he was of mixed race, claiming to have Irish, Cherokee, and Asian ancestry. Though he did not invent the voguing style of dance himself, he worked hard at refining with sharper movements to a higher standard. His main influences include a young Michael Jackson, Fred Astaire, Olympic gymnasts, and Asian culture. Willi Ninja started the House of Ninja in 1982 with Sandy Apollonia Ninja. He participated in Harlem's drag balls with children from his House of Ninja. Like other ball houses, House of Ninja was like an extended family with dance at its core, with Ninja as his mother. Sadly, on the 2nd of September 2006, Ninja died of an AIDS-related heart failure in New York City. He was 45 years old. Since his death, he has given inspiration to many aspiring artists and music DJs. David Kato Kisule was a Ugandan teacher and LGBT rights activist. He is considered a father of Uganda's gay rights movement and described as Uganda's first openly gay man. Kato became highly involved with the underground LGBT rights movement, eventually becoming one of the founding members of SMUG, an advocacy organisation for LGBT rights in Uganda. Kato spoke during a 2009 United Nations-funded consultative conference on human rights. At the conference, Kato spoke on the issue of LGBT rights and the anti-LGBT atmosphere in Uganda. Members of the Uganda Human Rights Commission openly joked and snickered during his speech. By 2010, Kato had quit his job as a school teacher to focus on his work with SMUG in light of the events surrounding the Uganda anti-homosexuality bill. Kato was subsequently given a 1-year fellowship at the Centre for Applied Human Rights in York, in the United Kingdom, a centre which provides fellowships to vulnerable and threatened human rights activists, a reprieve from the dangers they face in their own countries. Unfortunately, in 2011, Kato was murdered, and it is strongly believed that the murder is linked to his sexuality and LGBT activism in Uganda. Both Amnesty International and the Human Rights Watch have been calling for a full investigation into the case. However, the Uganda Minister for Ethics claims that homosexuals can forget about human rights. The final Black LGBT activist that we want to highlight is Joséphine Baker, who was an openly bisexual singer, actor and performer who fought for equity for queer people, women and people of colour throughout her life. Baker was born in the United States of America and naturalised as a French citizen later in life after marrying a French man. Joséphine Baker was one of the most successful African American performers on the stage of France. This was a platform that Baker utilised to the benefit of the civil rights movement. Baker heavily denounced segregation and refused to perform at segregated venues. She worked to advance the cause of the civil rights, speaking at the 1963 March on Washington, and was even offered a leadership role within the movement by Coretta Scott King after her husband, Dr. Martin Luther King, was assassinated. Baker adopted 12 children of different ethnicities and raised them together in one home. She referred to them as the Rainbow Tribe and saw them as a model for racial diversity that the world at large should follow. If you want to find out more about Queer Amnesty Ireland, you can follow us on all of our socials at Queer Amnesty IE.